Hello, Heavy Culture Talk, mais uma vez,
Hello.
aqui hoje. Hello! Estamos com o autor da vinheta do Heavy Culture, Mr. Chave Pix!
Hey, boa tarde, boa noite. Tudo bem?
Jeff
Como
Dunn.
está? Como está?
Estou bem. E você, Jeff?
Tudo bem. Tá bom, tá bom.
Tá bom.
Bem-vindo,
Ok.
Christian. É sempre uma alegria estar com o Jeff. O Jeff é um cara fantástico, é o meu ídolo de infância e de muita gente aí. Então a gente vai trazer um pouco aí das atualidades do Venom Inc. E, pessoal, prestigia aí a gente, dá um joinha, se inscreva no canal e nos estimule a continuar nessa nossa jornada aqui, falando com esse pessoal bacana e sempre prestigiando o mundo da música pesada nacional e internacional. Christian, seja bem-vindo. Eu vou fazer uma pergunta para o Jeff. Como o Jeff está encarando aí um novo play, um novo disco do Venom Inc., o There's Only Black, que foi lançado no final de setembro, um disco fantástico, um disco, assim, a cara do Venom Inc., como é que ele está encarando aí a repercussão do álbum, enfim, e atualizar como é que está o Venom Inc., né? Por favor.
Okay, Jay is asking about the new album, There's Only Black. How's it doing, and how do you feel about this new album? Because it's like it's like a real Venom Inc. album. So it's like, how's it doing? The expectations for tours and things like that.
I mean, the thing is, it's far exceeded my expectations. It's the reviews. Every single review that I have read has been amazing. I never ever expected that. I mean, you know what? It's the second album, and you know, it's quite honestly the first Venom Inc. album with 3 real musicians playing on it. We all know what happened with the first one, but you know, every review that I was getting sent and every one that I read, it was just getting better and better and better. And like I say, you know, you do a second album. When the first album has been well received, then doing the second album is always a little bit nerve-wracking, because you think, you know, you've got to at least equal that, if not beat it, you know. But the one thing that I will say is, for myself personally, I approached it exactly the same way as I approached writing the material for black metal all those years ago. I didn't even think about it. I didn't think I need to do another one of these kind of songs or one of these kind of songs. I knew that the ideas that I had that I wanted to put down, but I didn't consciously think I need to do a song like this. I need to do a song like that, because I think that way it then can become false. It doesn't become you anymore. You know, the only person that really that I'm in competition with is myself, constantly in competition with myself. So, you know, Ave was very well received. So yes, it was a little bit, you know, it's good. We knew it had to be good, but we didn't realize it was going to be this good, you know. And then when it's gone out, the reviews, as I say, came back, you know, everything from the songwriting to the arrangement to the playing, the musicianship, the production, everything got incredible reviews. And really, you know, as a band, you can't ask for any more than that. But the one thing that I still have to wait for and getting out there to do this is the reaction of the fans. I've had quite a few messages from fans who have said, you know, this is an incredible album. But, you know, and it's nice to have the critique from the webzines, the magazines and all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's down to the fans. They are the people who, you know, essentially, you know, not to put too fine a line on it, but essentially they are the people who spend the money to say, yes, I want this album, you know. And that's, you know, sadly, at the end of the day, sadly, that is a measure of success, in this day and age. It's how many units have you sold? Your question to start with was, how is it doing? So, everybody wants to know, exactly that. How is it doing? And from the reports I've received, it's doing very well.
Speaking in Portuguese a little bit now. Bom, ele fala ali que o álbum superou todas as expectativas. Tem aquela obrigação de quando tu vai fazer o segundo álbum, né? O primeiro já chamou bastante atenção, assim. Tu tem essa obrigação de não poder baixar o nível, né? Mas ele tá bem contente, sim, porque o álbum superou nos reviews todas as expectativas. Ele tá bem contente com o resultado do álbum também, né? Ele não esperava, que nem ele falou, isso, obrigação, né? De tu conseguir fazer o álbum tão bom quanto o primeiro foi bom, então ele está recebendo várias notas positivas a respeito disso também, né, e ele está esperando bastante também o retorno dos fãs, né, porque é muito importante também, tem os reviews dos magazines, de tudo que é lado, mas para ele o mais importante é a reação dos fãs, é o que os fãs vão achar. Ele comenta ali que ele tem uma certa similaridade com o black metal, mas é sem querer, ele não quis entrar dentro disso, ele não quis fazer ele ficar igual ao black metal, não foi intencional, mas é uma coisa que saiu natural. Então é um álbum que ele tá bem contente, deu um retorno bem bom, assim, pessoalmente, e ele fala ali que ele não tá competindo com ninguém, a única pessoa com quem ele tem que competir é com ele mesmo. Então, tipo, essa é a verdade do álbum.
Aí que eu tenho uma pergunta já, Christian, se tu me permite engatar, perguntar para ele como ele sente essa pressão por ser um músico tão influente e por ter uma trajetória tão grande, repleto de clássicos. Ele sente essa pressão, né? Ele falou que ele compete com ele mesmo.
Sim.
E como é difícil ser o Mantas. Ele sente essa pressão em termos de mercado, em termos de até o próprio black metal, que depois eu vou fazer uma outra pergunta, né? O black metal mudou muito, né? Mas nasceu com ele. Como é que ele encara isso? Por favor.
Okay. Jay is asking about the pressure of being in Mantas, like how do you feel about it, because when you are going to compose something, everybody's expecting something. There comes another Venom Inc. There comes another Venom. So like it's like the shoulders. You have a heavy weight on your shoulders when you have to compose. How do you feel that?
Do you know what it is? I've always said, right from the early days, I'm a kid from Newcastle who wrote some songs, and I was very lucky that some people dig them. That's as much as I can say. It's like, I don't think, when people meet me or when people interview me, I always get the question, what should we call you? Is it Jeff? Or it's Jeff. At the end of the day, that's who I am. That's me. I don't walk around thinking, oh, I'm Mantas. It's like, there are some people who have said to me, right, and these are close, dear friends, who have said to me, you don't realize who the fuck you are. And I'm like, I don't know. It's like this. It goes past me, If I was to give anybody access to my hard drive on my music computer, you would be surprised at the different types of music which are on there that I have wrote, not just what I have collectively from artists, but music that I've wrote. I'm just a music fan. I'm a guitar fan. I love guitar, and for me, the guitar is, I'm looking at them now. They're all over the place, but this is what I would call my workshop. These are my tools, and any music which is guitar driven, I love it. I mean, currently at this very moment in time, I'm getting involved with something else, which is going to be quite classic rock. which I love. It's where I'm from, you know, that 70s to 80s rock music. That's when I grew up. People tend to forget, you know, we're getting older, you know, and I'm 61. So I come from early Priest, Motorhead, you know, Zeppelin, Deep Purple, all that kind of stuff, you know. And I've just recorded some cover versions of songs for a project that I'm doing just for myself, which I hope to release. I've written some original material as well. And I'm also exploring my singing voice on it. So I'm singing on these things. So I've just recorded School's Out by Alice Cooper. And I remember that was 1972, I believe. You know, I was 11 years old when my auntie, she bought me the 7-inch single of School's Out. And she bought me that single because my mum wouldn't let me have it. For some reason, you know, Alice Cooper was too shocking to be in the house. You know, it's a little bit like the Venom scenario, you know, when I've heard of people say, you know, oh, my parents found the Venom album and they destroyed it or they threw it in the trash or whatever, you know. So I've recorded that. And it all started in the pandemic when, you know, everybody had so much downtime. And I was like, what the hell are we going to do? So I've got this studio here, which I'm sitting in now. And I thought, I wonder if I can sing. So I tried. And I sent the song, which was Resurrected by the Dead Daisies. I sent the song to friends of mine who I knew would be honest. These are people who work in music production and a couple of really good singers as well. And what came back was quite favorable. So I thought, right, okay, I'm going to explore this. So I've written about 8 originals, which is just it's good rock music. I'm doing all the vocals on there, like I say. And another song that I've just recorded is Something Moved by Ace Frehley from the 80s. So, yeah, I mean, you know, when you say about being Mantas, I think everybody gets this preconception of me of, you know, black metal, death metal, all this kind of stuff, you know. But hey, I'm as old school as it gets, you know. I'm from way back, and you know, whatever I wrote way back then, you know, like the early songs of Raise the Dead, Red Light Fever, Angel Dust, all those early songs. It was what those collective musicians, and I use the word loosely, we were very inexperienced back then. So whatever Kronos, Mantas and Abaddon did to those songs that I wrote when we got into the studio, however badly we played them, became iconic for some strange reason. And, you know, this is why I'm talking to you today. If that hadn't happened way back in 1979 to 1982, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And look what Venom Inc. has just done. 3 huge shows, Alcatraz, Bloodstock, Keep It True, all celebrations of the black metal album and the Hammersmith Odeon show. You know, and that speaks volumes to me. Speaks volumes. But as for me, just call me Jeff.
Okay, good. I'm gonna give like a very short version in Portuguese. Try to.
Good luck. Boa sorte!
Yeah.
Very short, very short.
Yeah. Bom, ele fala ali que desde o começo do Venom ele sempre gostou de ser chamado de Jeff. Tá? Ele não gosta muito dessa coisa assim. Ele é o Jeff, ele sempre se sentiu livre dessa coisa assim, né? Ele tá com um projeto agora também mais ligado com classic rock, né? Tipo, ele é fã de Alice Cooper, essas coisas do Led Zeppelin, coisas da década de 60 e 70, né? E ele tá começando a cantar também, né? Ele até fala assim da diferença de pegar o HD dele ali, vasculhar o HD dele, ficar surpreso da quantidade de música diferente que ele compôs. Não só de músicas que ele escuta, mas de coisas que ele compôs. Ele compõe muita coisa diferente, porque ele é um guitarrista que vem dessa coisa mais clássica, assim, né? Ele começou ali, né? Ele pegou, ele é novo, né? Então ele fala também do Alice Cooper ali, que ele é fã do Alice Cooper, a tia dele deu pra ele de presente o School's Out, que ele decidiu fazer uma versão cover, né? E mandou para uns amigos dele que são mais sinceros, assim, que eles sabem que os caras vão dizer tá bom, tá ruim, né? E não vão dizer tá bom porque é amigo, não, os caras vão... E ele disse que o resultado foi bem legal, assim. Então ele tá agora se engajando mais também nesse projeto, ele tá bem feliz também com o progresso do Venom Inc., né? Fizeram grandes shows agora, 2 shows fantásticos, né? Então a banda tá ativa, mas para ele é sempre o Jeff. Ele não tem essa coisa assim do Mantas, né? Para ele é ele. E eu vou aproveitar para emendar uma pergunta
Vai lá.
justamente a ver com isso e essa questão do black metal e as pessoas acharem que o cara é o cara da caverna. Não é? Well, I would like to ask you an interesting question about black metal and black metal fans and well, that country that lots of people love and I don't like very much, which is Norway, and people like taking too seriously the things. I remember when Corfan from Battery changed the style for viking metal. He said in an interview that he was like becoming scared about the actions of his fans and things like that. And he said that people were not able to understand the difference of lyrics and real life. The people that were not able to understand what is a musician and a character that a musician puts on stage and what is the real person. You know, like no one was like preaching sacrifice and Venom concerts and things like that, you know, or let's burn some churches for fun and things like that. For some people, it seems like difficult to understand that a musician, when he is on a stage, he incarnates a character. It's theater, you know, and some people can't believe that. They think, no, it's like we have to burn everything. They are not able to understand music, lyrics. It's like I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Personally, I think it's fucking crazy. And you know what it is? I've never actively followed the scene of the bands who followed us. You know, this huge black metal scene, which is still in existence today. I think there's 2 bands at the top of the black metal tree right now, and that is Dimmu Borgir and Behemoth. Other than that, I've never followed the scene. I have to admit, I could not tell you one Bathory song from another because I'd never listened to it. I have honestly never listened to it. One of the reasons that I didn't listen to any of the bands who were coming after us in those early days, you know, way back in the 80s, was because I didn't want any other external influence creeping into here. You know, my influences were firmly set, and that was Judas Priest, Motorhead, Black Sabbath. You know, they were my influences, and that is what created the music that I wrote. You know, I didn't want anything else to get into my head to then, you know, we essentially at that point in time, you've got to remember, we're going back a long time now. At that point in time, we were originators. We were leaders. You know, we opened the doors. Every forest fire, every fire that you see on TV where you look and go, oh my God, every rage and fire which has engulfed a city or a forest or nature or anything which has destroyed millions of miles of things, every fire starts with one tiny spark. And that is what I believe Venom were. We were the spark which ignited this whole fire, which became extreme metal. You know, without going into death, thrash, this, that, fucking every fuck off. Raise the flag of heavy metal again, please. Thank you very much. But we were the catalyst for all of that. We opened the doors, and then everybody just ran through those doors, you know? And we made that statement that we are black metal purely as a statement to alienate and individualize us as a band, because we didn't feel, rightly or wrongly, or just youthful arrogance, we didn't feel that we had anything in common with the bands that were around at that particular point. And the bands that were around at that particular point were the new wave of British heavy metal. And we didn't feel that we had anything in common with that. You know, we didn't feel a part of that, even though, you know, in every new wave of British heavy metal book, Venom are mentioned. You know, But at that point in time as well, from America, we had Bon Jovi and REO Speedwagon and Journey and Foreigner and all this squeaky clean and, you know, incredible musicians and hugely successful. So, you know, it's not for me to berate these people because, you know, Bon Jovi has got fucking million more fans than fucking Venom ever had. Let's put it that way. I'm a realist. I know that. I'm not sitting here, you know, like Kronos would sit here going, who the fuck's Bon Jovi? Fuck off. You know, I was in the studio with that guy and we talked, you know, I was talking to the engineer about the album Toto 4, you know, with Rosanna and Africa and all those fucking great songs on. And this fucking idiot turns around and says, yeah, but how many did that sell? It's like, fuck off. These bands have sold millions of fucking albums. Hugely successful. But Venom was the band which started the rebellion against all that very clean production and overproduced sounds and everything. And yes, every mom in America loved fucking Bon Jovi and all these fucking squeaky clean things, you know, and so did millions of people around the world. But there was also a portion of people who had had enough of that. And, you know, we just basically said the same thing, but we said it with our music and we made a statement about it, you know, and that statement came when we were doing an interview and there was a copy of Kerrang magazine on a table in the office where we were, and Bon Jovi was on the front cover. And that is the day that we said, if this is what you call heavy metal, then we have nothing in common with that. You know, what have we got in common with fucking Bon Jovi? You know, so the interviewer turned and said, what are you? So what are you? And that is when we said black metal, you know, and that was the statement that was meant to just take us away from everything. And now you've put these pictures up, you know, there's Kerry, there's Dave, and there's James, all with fucking Venom shirts on. And yes, like it or not, those three guys, like it or not James, like it or not Kerry, like it or not Dave, we opened the fucking door for these bands, you know, and there's two of those bands which are there were our support acts, you know, and yes, they went on to do incredibly well, and I'm very proud of both of those bands. You know, I couldn't be more proud to have been a part of their journey, and they did that because they worked harder than Venom. They crafted their music more than Venom, and then they got the right management and the right people and the right part of the industry around them to take them even further. We never got that because we didn't want it at that point. We were fiercely independent, you know, fiercely independent. And I had met someone who was closely associated with Metallica in the early days who helped put them on the map. And they actually said that they wanted Venom. And Metallica came along in second place. I'm not going to say who that guy was, but he did help to put Metallica on the map. So, you know, what we did opened a lot of doors, but it also opened a lot of dark places in people's minds as well. And that is not our problem, I'm afraid, because how many times have you been to the movies and seen a really violent movie? Have you had any inkling then to go out and kill someone? You know, we had a thing in England many, many years ago, and it was called the Hungerford shootings. And it was a guy who walked into a tiny little part of suburbia. It was houses with families, you know, people in their gardens, people washing their cars on a Sunday morning. And he walked in there in full military outfit, camouflage, everything. He was armed to the fucking teeth and he killed so many people. He just gunned them down, just walked through the streets in this little town and gunned people down. And the thing that got the blame for that was the Rambo movies. How many millions of people have seen a Rambo movie? and never went out and done that. I've seen Rambo God knows how many times. I've watched The Exorcist God knows how many times. You know, it's like there's something here which there isn't a cut-off point. There's something which says that shouldn't happen in real life. And because of the Hungerford shootings, I wrote a song for Venom called "If You Want a War," and that's what that song is all about. There's a line in that song which says, "In the movies, no one really dies." You know, and you know it's all, you know, and you know all the horror movies and stuff like that, all fucking fantasy. Come on, do you believe there's someone sitting on a cloud up there? Fuck off. Do you believe there's someone down there with horns and flames? Fuck off. You know, man is the God, man is the devil. We are capable of the most benevolent love, the most incredible things, the most amazing inventions. We help our fellow human beings. We are also the most despicable pieces of shit on this planet. You know, we are an animal of extremes. We are the gods, we are the demons. And that is why there's a song on There's Only Black called Man as God. That's what we are. Anything which happens on this planet is our fault. Nobody else. It's not a God's fault. It's not a devil's fault. And let me tell you, you know, the album is called There's Only Black because when you die, that's what you get. That's what happened to me. I was clinically dead for 5 minutes in the back of an ambulance, and that was it. There's only black. That was my experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vai ser difícil, hein?
I'm gonna be fucked trying to make a short version.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I'll come back in an hour.
Yeah. Ok, vamos lá para a versão curta. Né? Bom, eu perguntei para ele ali como é que ele via essa situação, né? Noruega, Betor e as galera levando a sério demais essa coisa da letra, né? Tipo, tem que sair por aí matando gente, queimando igreja, o Diabo 4. Até o Corton sempre falava que ele mudou o estilo para Viking Metal porque ele já estava assustado com os fãs, né? Ele começou a ficar nervoso com aquela coisa ali, que os caras estavam indo para um extremo demais que ele não gostava. Ele fala ali que, tipo, ele nunca acompanhou a cena black metal que veio depois, né? Por um simples e único motivo, ele não queria ser influenciado por nada. Eles são uma banda que veio da década, né, de 70, né? Então, tipo, ele não queria ser influenciado por nada que viesse depois deles. Então, eles não conhecem nada do Betor, não conseguem ouvir, nunca ouviu, né? Não que fosse ruim ou coisa assim, mas simplesmente pelo fato de que ele não queria ser influenciado por nada que estivesse sendo feito na época. Eles gostavam de ver eles gostavam de Judas Priest, né, muito assim, então Motorhead, essas coisas. Então, tipo, ele não queria ser influenciado por outras coisas, né? Então, isso fez com que a banda criasse essa identidade dela mesmo. Ele também acha, né, no ponto de vista dele, que as pessoas que levam isso a sério são retardados, né? Isso é idiota, né? Aquela coisa ali que eles criaram foi a faísca para tudo. Ele dá um exemplo ali, tipo, um incêndio numa floresta basta uma simples faísca, né, para incendiar tudo, né? O Venom foi quem começou isso. O Venom foi a faísca que abrangeu tudo ali, né? E eles nunca foram uma banda que quis ficar uma banda. Eles eram uma banda independente. Ele fala ali que né, ele considera só duas bandas como bandas grandes dentro do black metal, que é o Dimmu Borgir e o Behemoth, né? Que ele acompanha algumas coisas assim, mas ele também fala ali que essa questão das bandas, né? O Venom criou o rótulo black metal porque eles não se encaixavam dentro da new wave of British heavy metal. Eles não conseguiam entender por que botavam eles lá. Eles queriam ser uma banda independente, uma banda diferente. Então o rótulo black metal ele serviu para isso, para dar a identidade própria da banda e para a banda, né, ser diferente daquilo, porque tipo naquela época tu tinha Bon Jovi, essas coisas. Ele fala quando eles foram dar uma entrevista, tava uma revista da Karen com Bon Jovi na capa, ele disse, se isso é heavy metal, não somos heavy metal não, né? Então, tipo, tem toda essa questão assim, de criar o próprio estilo, né? Então, ele falou bastante disso, né? Dessas coisas, tipo, ser uma banda independente. O Venom podia ser, quando o Jay mostrou ali as fotos, né, do Dave Mustaine, do Quer e do James, fala que o Venom foi a banda que abriu para essas bandas a oportunidade de se tornarem as bandas que elas se tornaram. Eles começaram ouvindo o Venom, eles beberam muito dessa coisa do Venom, né? Só que eles foram bandas que, né, tiveram um gerenciamento muito melhor, né? Tiveram managers melhores, tiveram oportunidades. E o Venom é uma banda que sempre quis ser. Não contava muito com isso. Até se aproximar, tinha uma certa proximidade com gente grande que é conhecida do Metallica, né? Mas, né, eles aproveitaram para ficar como eles queriam. Fala, Jay, que eu tento acertar uma coisa. Vai falar
Já
alguma
vamos
coisa?
emendar para não.
Não.
Acho que acho que você conseguiu complementar muito, quer dizer, traduzir muito bem aí o que o Jeff falou, Christian. Eu queria já emendar porque tem tudo a ver. A gente
Não, eu
fez
só quero
uma live.
Ele fala ali sobre
Complemento.
só falando ali, né, o que ele fala sobre essa coisa, essa loucura toda, né? Teve esses incidentes com matança, coisa de filme, coisa e tal. E é gente louca que faz isso. Ele não. Se disserem que o Venom influenciou alguma coisa, não influenciou porra nenhuma. Isso é retardado. Ele fala que o There's Only Black, né? A questão ali, ele fala muito que, tipo assim, ó, se toca de força, o único mal, o único bem que existe é o homem. O homem que faz isso. O ser humano, ele é de bondade e maldade, as coisas mais possíveis, né? E ele acrescenta ali que o nome do There's Only Black é porque ele teve clinicamente morto por 5 minutos numa ambulância e só o que ele viu foi escuridão. Tem o nome There's Only Black. Pode falar agora.
Finish. A gente teve aqui, fala com o Jeff, que a gente teve aqui com o falecido John Zazula. Ele participou numa live conosco, né, orgulhosamente, e ele comentou que, na visão dele, quem é o pai do thrash metal é o Venom. Musicalmente, agora, tirando o contexto lírico e trazendo o contexto musical. O Jeff concorda com isso? John Zazula, né, descansa em paz aí, que nos comentou aí, ele tinha essa visão que o Venom realmente era o pai do thrash metal. Ele faz sentido para o Jeff isso?
Okay. Jay is talking about the opportunity we had on the channel to talk to John Zazzle, and he said he labeled Venom as a thrash metal band because it opened the opportunity to lots of North American thrash metal bands to become more aggressive and things like that. Not lyrically talking, but the sound, you know, like the style. Venom was like a very thrash metal band, in his opinion, okay? And also a band that had like open a huge fan, like for other bands to follow this tendency to. How do you see that? Do you agree with Jen about like having, you have like a great importance for the thrash metal bands from the 80s, you know, like most of those bands were listening to Venom. It's like no way we can quote Megadeth, we can quote Slayer, we can quote every Bay Area thrash band was listening to Venom. That was a fact, you know. And how do you feel about it?
Well, I totally agree. I absolutely totally agree. I think, you know, as I said before, you know, we opened a lot of doors for other musicians. And as I've said, I think, you know, we were that catalyst, we were that spark, we were that initial idea. You know, everything has to start with something, you know, and I just think that, you know, Venom was it. Venom was the thing that did actually start all that, you know, but even if you take it further back than that, you know, I mean, you know, we were listening to Motorhead. So you could say that Motorhead influenced early thrash. One of the songs that I would have to say that influenced, but probably influenced early thrash as well, would be a song like Exciter from Judas Priest. You know, when had we heard double bass drums before? You know, and that kind of riff and that. Now, if you break that riff down, it's essentially, it's got it's got a country and western vibe to it, actually. If you break it down and listen to it, it could be played on one of these little country and western fiddle things. You know, the down, little, little, down, 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 little, down. That's the exact, you know, and I know that because I had to learn that riff when we recorded it with Empire of Evil. So, you know, that's what I say, that every form of music which involves a guitar has some value to rock music, to metal music, to thrash music, to whatever. And at the end of the day, it all comes from the blues anyway. You know, we're all children of the blues, you know, and you can sing about the devil as much as you like. It's nothing new, kiddies. It's nothing new. You know, Robert Johnson was doing it before your granddaddy was a fucking sperm.
Yeah.
You know, it's like fucking hell. You know, and that again, that's why I wrote a song for Empire called Devil. You know, a widow on a Sabbath day, Black Widow, Black Sabbath. You know, the snake that did us wrong, Venom, snake. Way before it all began, the Delta sang its song. You know, so you can go Venom, you go Black Sabbath, you go Black Widow, any other band before the Crazy World of Arthur Brown, all that kind of stuff.
Fire,
Alice Cooper, right? Fire, exactly, the whole thing, right? But go further back, and there's some guy sitting on a porch in the Delta with a beaten up old acoustic, singing about the devil. You know, it's nothing new. You know, boys and girls, it's nothing new. We just took it and stuffed it in people's faces. That's all we did, really, at the end of the day. You know, there was nothing miraculous. There was no fucking master plan. There was nothing. But Lars Ulrich even said, you know, black metal, speed metal, death metal, thrash metal, Venom started it all with that one album, Welcome to Hell. Lars Ulrich said that. I don't have to say that. Lars Ulrich said it. You know, so do I believe that we had an influence on all that? Yes, and that's not me with an ego this big. It's just, I'm sorry, but that's just fact. It's just the truth. And yes, other bands took it and ran with it faster than we did, but we were the spark. I spoke in, oh God, it was in Santa Monica in Los Angeles. We were at the NARM show, and I spoke to Jimmy Durkin from, it was a Dog Angel, and he said he remembers him and James Hetfield and Kerry King driving around that fucking area, blasting Venom. You know, he says, that's all we used to listen to. You know, he says, it's all that Kerry used to listen to was fucking Venom. You know, then years later, I bump into Paul Speckman from Master. You know, he says, you changed my fucking life. You know, they were playing some kind of other music, and then he bought In League with Satan, the first single. He took that single into his rehearsal room and went, right, fuck all this shit. This is what we're playing from now on. And that's when he formed, what was it, Death Strike that he formed after that, or whatever the band was, and then eventually came into Master. And I sat across a dinner table talking to Paul about this. You know, I've had so many people say, you know, you're the reason. Venom is the reason. This is the you know, and that's a heavy weight to bear, you know. And sometimes I just sit there and go, really? Holy shit! You know, because you're so close to it, you don't realize the impact that it's actually having. You know, and it's you know, all these years later, you know, going to festivals, and you know that one of the strange things about being at a festival, you know, is that myself and Tony, you know, when we arrive on the festival site, we look like this, right? You know, we just walk about like two old guys, you know, and we go into catering and we have a coffee, and you know, fucking nobody takes any fucking notice of us at all. You know, everything, you know, we walk past people. Nobody recognizes us. We just shuffle about with a coffee and just, you know, have a walk around and everything. As soon as we put the stage gear on, you know, the fucking, you know, the battle clothes go on, and the guitar's around the neck, everybody's like, oh, fucking hell, there's Venom. It's so fucking bizarre. It's so bizarre. But I like that because at the end of the day, I get up in the morning, I fucking have a coffee, I take a dump. I'm like everybody else. And that and I've told the tale a million times before. That's how I wrote black metal. I took my guitar into the toilet one day, and that was it. And that is an absolutely true story. So, having all this is like, it's amazing. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing, and I'm very proud to think that I've been a part of it. But it's overwhelming. It really is. It's like, fucking hell. It's incredible. What can I say, guys?
Yeah.
Vai ser difícil essa de novo,
okay. Português. Bom, ele concorda plenamente ali com o que foi dito. Ele influenciou as bandas. O próprio Lars Ulrich fala isso, que o Welcome to Hell foi o álbum que influenciou o thrash, o death, tudo que veio depois daquele álbum foi influenciado por aquilo, né? Como ele mencionou antes também, o Venom foi a faísca que começou esse incêndio, né? Ele não fala isso por uma questão de ego ou que se acha, não, ele fala isso porque várias pessoas já chegaram nele e falaram, olha, tipo, tu é a razão de eu tocar. O Paul Speakman do Master falou pra ele, tipo, eu escutei o Venom e, né, é por isso que eu toco. Então, tipo, tem essa coisa assim, e ele fala, esse que é o peso que ele carrega nos ombros, né, saber que, tipo, o Venom foi responsável por isso, as pessoas chegam e dizem pra ele que ele foi responsável por isso, né, então, tipo, é legal, assim. O que ele fala que é legal ali, que é interessante, é que chega no final do dia, tudo vai acabar no blues, né? Porque como ele fala ali, o Venom não fez nada de novo. O blues já estava cantando sobre o demônio antes de muita gente ter nascido, né? Não era nem o esperma no saco do teu avô. Teu avô era esperma, ainda os caras já estavam lá tocando no Mississippi falando do demônio e Diabo 4. Né? O Venom só escrachou isso e botou na cara do público isso, né? Então, tipo, tinha o Arthur Brown, que já fazia as suas loucuras com fogo, coisa e tal, né? Mas o Venom foi a banda que, né, conseguiu botar isso, né, na cara da sociedade. Eles jogaram isso. Mas que nem ele fala ali, se tu te acha fodelão, coisa e tal, assim, porque tu faz letra falando, filho, já faziam isso muito tempo antes de tu nascer, né? Antes de muita banda de black metal aí querer pagar de fodelão, de mauzão ou de true, os caras do blues já estavam lá venerando o demônio, né? Então eu acrescento toda vez que eu falo a respeito disso. Os caras se dizem satanista, vai lá bater na porta da igreja de Satã, ver o que eles vão dizer que tu é satanista, porra nenhuma, né? Então, tipo, tem toda essa questão assim do Venom ter influenciado. Ele fala também ali do Exciter, do Judas Priest, né, que foi o som que, né, apresentou o bumbo duplo, né? Ele ficou assim, meu Deus, né? Tanto que ele fez um som muito parecido no Empire, né? Tipo, tinha que colocar isso, né? De alguma forma, assim, ele fala ali, né, como foi falado, o Venom, ele abriu portas, né? Ele foi a banda responsável por escancarar na sociedade toda essa coisa, assim, né? Mas não tem nada de que nem ele fala, novo, né? Eles trouxeram isso das outras épocas, né? Do jeito deles, assim, então isso é interessante, assim, né? E ele se sente grato por isso, assim, tipo, é algo fantástico saber que tu foi o cara que, né, de certa forma, começou tudo.
Posso emendar outra rapidinho? Nosso tempo está terminando, né? Desculpa aí, Cristiano. Mas o importante é o seguinte, o Jeff falou que não se influenciou em nada, nunca assim, tentou se influenciar por algo moderno. Só que o álbum Resurrection do Venom, de 2000, tem muitos elementos modernos. Ele já sacou a pergunta. Qual foi a fonte de inspiração para aquele disco que eu acho que é o Venom? O Venom voltou num momento muito interessante. Musicalmente, ele conseguiu, através do álbum Resurrection, se apresentar de novo para um novo público, totalmente repaginado, mas as influências ali a gente percebe muito metal moderno daquela época, né? Qual foi a fonte de inspiração para o Jeff no Resurrection? Sempre foi a minha dúvida.
Oh, okay. Jay is talking about Resurrection, the album, because it says like it sounds a little bit more modern than the other Venoms, obviously, and there is like some influence, some influence of new bands, like, and this album helped Venom to go back to the spot again. Everybody was talking about it when it was released, and is asking about the influences for this album.
The influences
Like,
for
what were you
Resurrection.
listening? Yeah.
For me personally, it was just business as usual. You know, yet there is a modern twist on that album, I suppose. But I think I do remember being in the studio. We recorded that in Hamburg in a studio called Caro Studios, and it was a residential studio. So we were living at the studio. It was the first time that really we had recorded, you know, digitally as well, you know, on a huge Pro Tools system. It's certainly the first time I had seen my guitar parts appear on screen as waveforms, you know, and multiple takes as well. We're working with a guy called Charlie Barfind who taught me a lot about studio playing at that point. And I remember when we got to the studio and we set the equipment up, we kicked into a track called 13, which appears on Resurrection. And after we'd finished just jamming the song, I think we played another couple of things as well. But we had been rehearsing before we traveled over to Hamburg. And I remember Charlie and Rainer Hansel from SPV. They called us into the sort of communal area. There was like a kitchen and dining room and stuff. So we sat down, we had a coffee, and those two guys, they said to us, maybe we think you sound too tight for Venom. And we were like, what? Too fucking tight? You know, the only thing we've done is change the fucking drummer. Now we've got a drummer who actually, you know, works hard and practices his craft and wants to be the best he can. And, you know, having Anton on the drums for that one album as well also opened the scope for the musical composition. It gave us more width, more, you know, more, just you know, more opportunities, really. So if I wanted to do a riff, you know, that went diddle-lam, 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 and I asked Anton to play that, then I knew that he would practice enough to be able to get that double bass drum syncopation with the guitar parts, which we never had before. So I think when people say, oh, it's got that modern edge to it and it's a bit of a progression, I do think it's a progression, but I do also think that it's a solid Venom album. I mean, what I have to say, even to today, regardless of what Kronos is now currently saying in the press, which is, oh, just give it a rest, you fucking idiot. You know, shut the fuck up and just do what you're doing, for fuck's sake. You know, even with what he's saying today, I still say, you know, that on that album, he wrote some great lyrics. And one of his songs became one of my favorite songs on the album, which was Kings of Evil. And was it Kings of Evil that was on there, or was that on Castle? I can't remember. It was one of his fucking songs that became my favorite off the album anyway. It all fucking blurs into one. But that album, you know, songs like Vengeance and things like that, yes, they had modern twists to them, but it was purely, I think, because of the production, which was excellent. I think Charlie did a fantastic job on the production. And And it was also because of the work ethic of the band at that point. And to be brutally honest, my thoughts on Resurrection are that it should have been the album that Venom came back with, not Cast in Stone. Cast in Stone was a good album, but I didn't think it was a great album, you know. But Resurrection, I think, should have been the album which was the comeback for Venom. And I do remember Charlie saying, you know, after we had the conversation about, you know, oh, is this too tight for Venom? Because, you know, you guys are known to be that loose type of thing, you know, that rock and roll thing. And we were like, this is the way we are now, you know. And I remember Charlie saying, okay, you want tight, you get tight. And that's when he made us work so fucking hard in that studio. Resurrection was a very tough album to record for us, because it was the first time, really, that we had someone sitting on our shoulder going, one more time, one more time, one more time. That was his nickname. It was Charlie One More Time Bauerfeind. That was his nickname. And I remember being there in the studio recording guitar parts and just putting the guitar down at one point and saying, I can't tell the difference in what I'm doing. And he looked at me and he went, one more time. And that was it. But, you know, the guy got fucking results. You know, I mean, you know, the track itself, Resurrection, fucking, you know, Leviathan, all those fucking tracks, you know, I think for me, it became one of my personal favorite Venom albums. You know, I've always said, in order, for me personally, chronological order, Venom albums: Welcome to Hell, Black Metal, Primeval, Resurrection, and then Ave, and There's Only Black. Those 6 albums, I think, represent a good progression of a band in songwriting, in production, in arrangement, all that kind of thing, whilst retaining who we are. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna give like a short, very
short.
Yeah.
Bom, ele fala ali, né, que de influência não tem nada moderno, tá? É as mesmas influências de sempre. O que acontece é a produção, sim, foi mais moderna, assim, porque foi toda digital, né? Outra, né, eles trabalharam com um batera de verdade, né, com um batera que era engajado em ensaiar e trazer cada vez melhor a coisa, né? Não mencionando outro. Não, mas, então, tipo, ele acha que foi uma progressão natural. Tá? Ele tem essa reviravolta meio moderna, mas puramente por questão da gravação digital, tudo ser diferente de como o Venom estava acostumado a gravar antigamente. Tanto que ele apelidaram o cara de mais uma vez ali, o produtor, né? Porque era de toda hora, mais uma vez. Ele já não sabia nem que ele estava errando ali, o cara estava não tocar mais uma vez, né? Então, para ele gosta bastante do Resurrection. O Cronos andou falando merda, ele disse que é um idiota, né? Porque para ele o Resurrection é o álbum que deveria ser o retorno do Venom, né? Tanto que ele cortou o Cast in Stone na sequência.
Concordo.
Né? Então, tipo, é um álbum que ele gosta bastante, né? É um álbum que tem uma progressão boa, né? Estavam trabalhando com um batera bom também. E é um álbum que eles trabalharam duro para ele ser bom. Né? Tipo, o resultado foi bom. Para ele é um dos álbuns favoritos, assim. Mas essa questão desse twist moderno, assim, é mais por questão de estúdio, por questão de produtor, coisa e tal, né? E também porque a banda evoluiu também, né? Tem essa coisa, quando tu tá tocando com um batera melhor, coisa e tal, tu já consegue fazer coisas que antigamente tu tava limitado. Então isso já ajudou bastante, né? Ok.
A gente já está chegando no final. Eu vou ter que fazer, já que a gente falou, né? O Jeff citou ali os discos, né? Deu para perceber bem ali na fala dele, né? Os 6 discos que ele considera assim avanços, né? Que ele considera importantes. E já que ele tocou no Venom aí, eu acho que pela fala, né, se cogitou um retorno da line-up original. Isso não faz mais sentido, né? Ou, pergunta para ele,
Sim.
por favor.
Jay is asking about the original lineup. If there is any chance of returning to original lineup, not anymore. Things like that. The media was talking about that and things like that. So,
do you know what it is? I mean, there's just been this thing. You know, Kronos has just done an interview with Metal Hammer, which, you know, there's stuff in that interview where I looked at it and I just went, what the fucking hell planet did that happen on? You know, he's talking about the reunion that we did for Dynamo. You know, he was saying like, oh, I called the guy. No, he did not call fucking anybody. He didn't call anybody at all. You know, it was Eric Cook, our manager, who's now sadly since departed us. But it was Eric Cook and Tony Bray, Abaddon, who put that fucking reunion period together. It wasn't fucking Kronos who put that reunion period together. I remember turning up to a bar in Newcastle called Trillions, and we had agreed to have a meeting there. And Kronos was the first one in the bar. I walked in, there was a sort of tentative handshake and a hello. And I remember saying to Kronos, I've only come here to say no. I'm not doing this. You know? And that was before the Dynamo thing. It took so many talks to get us together for the Dynamo. And I mean, we did the Waldrop Festival first. And he turns around and says, oh, it wasn't very well received. You know, he was the one that was saying, I'll do it. No, I'm not doing it. I'll do it. I'm not doing it. There was one day we had a meeting and Abaddon actually stood up in the office, in the Venom office, and said, right, Conrad, fuck off. It's all off. Forget it. Conrad picked up his bag. He walked out of the office. He walked past me and said, adios, amigo. And he walked out, right? I went home and I spoke to my wife and I said, well, that's it. That's all fucked. And about an hour later, I received a phone call from Eric saying, it's back on. He's going to do it. So don't go to the press and say that it was your idea in the first place. And when I did the Facebook thing, when people were talking to me about the 40th anniversary of black metal, and, you know, Venom Inc. are the people who have been asked to do the anniversary shows. And we've done it because, you know why? Because this fucking shit show of three originals can't get their fucking act together to get together on a stage and give the fans that. You know, and he's turning around now and saying, oh, I'm not getting on stage with those doddery old fuckers. Give a subpar performance. I tell you what, watch the videos of your own band if you want to see a subpar performance. This pisses me off to the hilt. I put a call out to everybody who's been a member of this band, not just the originals. And even me and Tony Dolan had a conversation about this. And we said that to celebrate Venom, there should be a concert where everybody who's been a member, Mike Hickey, Jim Clare, fucking Abaddon, Kronos, Mantas, Tony Dolan, Al Barnes, fucking Dante, Stu, whatever his fucking name is, right? They should all be on one stage together playing their era of Venom. And at the end of the night, the original lineup play some of the classic songs just for the fans. I put that out. Who contacted me? Fucking nobody, because none of them have got the balls to do it. And that's the fucking truth. You know, it's not a case of like getting on stage and fucking doing a subpar performance. I'm not frightened of getting on stage with any of those motherfuckers. Anytime you're ready, I'll do it. It's those guys who will not do it. Not me. Not anymore, because I've thought to myself, with what happened to me, with a fucking heart attack and dying, and now with what's happening to Abaddon with cancer, it's like, is all this bullshit worth it? All this fucking in a playground kicking everybody's shins, is it worth it? No, it's not. Not in the grand scheme of things, where you've got a guy having chemotherapy. I had a fucking double bypass. And there's things I could tell you about the other motherfucker that you don't even want to know. Right, so this original lineup thing, if it came together, then yeah, if you've got the bollocks to stand in front of me and look me in the eye and say, yes, I'll do it, then yeah. get on that fucking stage and do it. Right? It really fucking is starting to, and the older I get, the more it fucking annoys me to think that we can't do this just for the fans. And yes, of course there'd be financial reward. Who's going to deny that? Who, you know, are Guns N' Roses out there doing it for nothing? No. Are Kiss out there doing it for nothing? No. Does any band do it for nothing? No. This is our job. This is what we do to pay the bills. This is what we do to put food on the table for the family. Hello, it's a fucking job, right? But to have somebody like that talking the way he does about it, it's like, I don't know. I mean, we've just done a response in Metal Hammer. You know, we've just done a thing where we've said, like, it's unnecessary. And if this was to be one final thing, just to put the lid on it, then why not? You know, why not? You know, to say that this wouldn't work. I'm a realist. I don't believe there are millions of fucking Venom fans out there just waiting for this to happen. Right? I'm real about it. I don't believe that for 1 second. If somebody could put me in a capsule and say, look, there are, I'll be like, holy shit. But, you know, it's like, no, I don't believe it. Because if there are, why aren't Venom Inc. headlining everything? Why aren't Venom headlining everything? Right? I mean, this might, you know, it might sound like an old guy having a bit of a rant. But, you know, it's just, like I say, you know, to just celebrate a band, which, let's be honest, we've just spent nearly an hour talking about how influential this band has been over the years and what it has done for the heavy metal scene. And, you know, to think that we can't just celebrate that, I think that at the end of the day, that's very sad. It is just honestly sad. You know, but if that's the way it's to be, then so be it. Then we shall carry on doing what we are doing. And that's it.
Okay.
Ficou claro.
Oh, it's all gone quiet now, hasn't it?
Ok. Bom, ele fala.
Eu tô mexendo aqui, né? Pode ir.
Não partiu do Cronos porra nenhuma, né? Quem deu a ideia foi o produtor deles, que já morreu, né? E o próprio Badon de fazer o Nino, coisa e tal. Então, não. Ele é o cara que prejudicou tudo. Então, tipo, eu não vejo necessidade. Ele até gostaria de fazer um show, né? Com toda a era do Venom, né? Todos os caras que já tocaram no Venom também. Mas ele, pra falar a verdade, sim, o Venom não é uma banda que tenha milhões e milhões de fãs, assim como parece, para fazer uma reunião forçada, né? E o Cronos vai sempre dificultar tudo, né? Ou querer dizer que é ele o cara que né, fez a reunião. Então, tipo, eles se encontraram num bar e o Mantas foi lá só para dizer não na cara do Cronos. Não vai ter. Né? Então, tipo, que nem ele fala ali, tipo, as bandas que fazem um reunion, eles fazem porque aquilo dá dinheiro, não porque eles gostam de tocar junto e coisa e tal. Não dá mais, pra ser sincero. Tipo, cada banda tá fazendo a sua história, né? O Venom Inc. tá aí, o Venom tá tentando, né? Então, tipo, é triste, mas é que nem ele falou, o Badon tá na quimioterapia, ele tá com um marca-passo, então, tipo, vale o estresse? Não vale. Pra que se matar por uma coisa que tu, né, vai fazer, mas não é a mesma coisa. O Dolan tentou fazer também, mas não adianta, eles vão sempre esbarrar ali no Cronos, né? Que é o cara que mais dificulta, né? E aqui, aliás, né, eu vou adicionar aqui, né, tipo, a diferença do Venom pro Venom Inc. é que o Venom tá se fudendo pra conseguir voltar, né?
Vamos lá, vamos.
Eu só vou adicionar isso em inglês para ele, né? Just to let you know what I said in English as like the great difference for Venom and Venom Inc. is like Kronos is like trying fucking hard to compose some good music and seems to be impossible to present something on the same level, you know? It's like he's completely fucked up, you know. Like now we can see who were the real composers in Venom, you know.
Do you know? Do you
Because
know
he,
what? You know, the thing is, I've heard this so many fucking times, and you know, even when Ave went out, there was quite a few reviews, but I remember one in particular which said, you know, you can tell that Mantas is writing another classic Venom album, and you know, that made me think, wow, that's high praise. That's a lot. You know, fucking Kronos wrote some good stuff back. You know, back then. I mean, yes, the first two albums are predominantly mine. You know, well, the Hell and Black Metal. I wrote the vast majority of that, and a lot of it was written before he joined the band. That's another thing people forget, right? But he did come into his own. I mean, you know, when I came in with the music for Nightmare, I wrote all the music for Nightmare, and he come up with those lyrics, you know, by the shores of the Asian Sea, full scream out destiny. Great fucking lyrics. And then, you know, I had this on the back of Welcome to Hell and Black Metal. There's obviously, you know, we are possessed by all that is evil, the death of your God, and we demand. You know, the whole possessed thing, you know, look at me, Satan's child. That was written way before Welcome to Hell. It was like a piece of poetry that I had written, you know, way back. And I had a riff which went da-da-da-da-down, da-da-da-da-down, and it was going to be da-da-da-da-down, look at me, da-da-da-da-down, Satan's child, da-da-da-da-down, born of evil, down, thus defiled. That riff, da-da-da-da-down, Manitou, that's what it became, because I was playing it one day. He had the idea for this track about the Indians, the Red Indian tribes and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, he came up with those lyrics. Across infernal wastelands, many miles of sunburned hell. You know, tribes are scattered limbs and dust, laying as they fell. I still remember those fucking lyrics. You know, I could quote a lot of his fucking stuff when he came into his own, because the first few attempts weren't good. Neither were mine, you know. But when, you know, his lyrics, you know, what some of the lyrics I'm most proud of that I wrote, you know, most of the lyrics on Welcome to Hell are all mine. You know, I think there's only Sons of Satan, which is essentially his. He might have put a couple of lyrics in or changed a couple of words here and there on my stuff. But, you know, I can still remember writing the seven gates of hell, sorry. And, you know, that was my little tip of the hat to Ronnie James Dio, all the sword and sorcery, the contradictory lyrics and stuff like that. But like I say, he did some great stuff as well. But now I'm reading more and more, you know, that it's over, pal. You know, people are saying that, you know, it's like, wow, holy shit, you know. I mean, it's like, you know, and then, you know, to say that, you know, he's doing more album sales now than for black metal, and I'd say, oh God, you know, when does this stop? You know, it's crazy. And again, with the reunion thing, this is getting fired at me a lot in interviews now. And I'm thinking, why? Why now? Why, you know, 2022, we're coming into 2023. Why are people saying all this now? Because I remember it was a few years ago, right? In fact, it was quite a while ago, at the beginning of the Empire of Evil period. I was getting a lot of questions about the reunion. And then I actually got a call from Eric, the old manager, who said there was a possibility of a reunion. Now we're going back to, I don't know, when the hell was this? You know, the early 2000s or 2000, mid 2000s, whatever it was, I don't know. But who was the only person who then made a move to contact and say, right, are we going to do this? It was me. I was the one who personally emailed Kronos, because I was getting these questions all the time. It was like, right, where's this coming from? I don't know who's saying this, you know, and what I'm turning up to do Empire of Evil shows, and the promoters are going, wow, this Venom reunion is going to be great. And I'm thinking, who the fuck is talking about this? You know? And I spoke to Eric, and he says, yeah, there's rumors going around, and yeah, we're going to try and make it happen. And, you know, before John Zazula passed away, the last conversation I had with John was talking about, hey man, Venom, you gotta get it back together. I was like, what's going on? But again, the only person who made that fucking move was me. And I emailed Kronos and I said, I know what your answer is going to be. I actually said that. I know what the answer is going to be, but I've got to put this to rest. And if it's a no, then I will make the statement to say that I have spoken to you and we have agreed no. I got a very polite email back from Kronos, which said, yeah, we're very different people. Yeah, no, blah, 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 blah. But, you're doing your thing. I'm doing mine. Good luck and that. Right? Then in the fucking press, he goes mental again. And I'm thinking, why? What? And all this happened from the day that I gave him verbal permission on the phone to use the Venom name. He called me in 2005, and he called me, as I've said many times, at a time when my mother was seriously ill and she was essentially dying. And he called me and asked me if I was okay if he carried on the name Venom. I said at that point, I didn't give a shit about a band name. My mother was seriously ill and she died in my arms in December of that year. Right? So I didn't give a fuck about what a band was called. Right? But I also said to him that I would not recognize any lineup without him and me in it as Venom. Right? So then he goes, forges ahead with it all and fucking changes history. And that is the thing that annoys me. It also annoys Tony Dolan. Because it's like, why are you changing the history of this? Why have you got to constantly justify your relevance? We were all part of it, right? Yeah, I wrote the early material. So what? I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I just wrote some fucking songs. Simple as that, right? But, it's like this question's always going to happen. I remember being in the studio with Sebastian Bach many years ago, and we were recording a version of Die Hard for some tribute album, right? I was doing the guitars, he was doing the vocals, and I remember having a conversation with him, and he was a huge Venom fan. I didn't realize he was a Venom fan, but he was like, "Oh man," he says, "you should call the guys and get back together." And I looked at him and I said, yeah, well, maybe you should call the guys in Skid Row. And he went, hey, fuck those guys. Fuck those guys. And I was like, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we're not unique. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not a unique situation in a band. I've always said, come on, just, switch the intelligence on here, because a band can be the biggest destroyer of friendships,
Yes.
And when I did the rock school thing back in England, and we were teaching kids, and getting them off the street essentially, and teaching music to them, and then they would do a concert at the O2 Academy, and they did a 3-month course, and one of the weeks I got to sit down. The main guy who ran the course, he said, because you're in the industry, would you talk to them about, the real side of it, And I was like, yeah, sure. So I used to talk about, songwriting and credits for songwriting and things like that. And, and I remember one of the parents came up to me at one of these concerts, and they actually said to me, we think you're doing an amazing job, and I can't remember the kid's name, but it was like, he really wants to be in a band and he wants to do that. What can we do to help him? My answer was, get him a good fucking lawyer.
For sure.
You know what? In the words of Metallica, sad but true. Very sad. A very sad statement, but very true as well.
Yeah.
Because You know, what you've got to think about, and this has happened in Venom, and I'm sure it's happened in a lot of other bands who have said, "Oh yes, all for one, one for all," blah 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 blah. When the band breaks up, and you're sitting there with your little measly royalty check, or maybe 1 month it's a good royalty check, and then you think, there's other guys who have got the same fucking check as me, and they never did fuck all. Yeah. And it's, you know, I mean, do you know the one thing that I'm jealous of is a band who can stay together. And one thing that I've got on this phone that I'm speaking to you on now, right? I've told this many times, but I've still got this photograph on this phone. And apparently it is the last selfie that Geddy Lee took of the three of those guys together, Alex Lifeson, Neil Peart and Geddy Lee. And you can see Geddy's got his phone up like that. And there's three guys with smiles on their faces who look totally comfortable and happy to be in each other's company. And I actually saved that photograph to my phone. I thought, wow, that is an achievement. That is success. You know, to be able to make magic like they've done and still be so comfortable together. And you know, it wasn't a professional photo shoot or anything. It was just three guys in regular clothes, one guy taking a selfie, like three friends on holiday. And I was actually jealous of that. I thought, wow, that is incredible. And it's still there on my phone. Yeah. So there you go. So do you know what it is? The older I get, the more outspoken I'm getting. the more I just think, you know, fuck this, I'm just gonna tell the truth. It's like bollocks. I don't care anymore.
I'm gonna give I'm gonna give a very short version about it.
I tell you what, everybody who wants to know, just go and learn some English. I'll stick it into a translator. That poor guy up there, where is he? Is he up there? No, he's not. He's up. This thing's all back to front. What's going on? That one. He's the one that's translating. This poor guy. Leave him alone.
Yeah, like they say in Italian, trattori tutti traitori.
I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, but I remember we never should translate it. Ok, I'm gonna say in Portuguese a little bit. Bom, falando ali, né, eu tava falando com ele que parece impossível o Cronos conseguir fazer música boa atualmente. Ele fala que ele tem ouvido muito isso, né? O Cronos, ele diz ali que o Cronos fez muita coisa boa dentro do Venom, contribuiu com bastante coisa boa, mas a maior parte já estava pronta, né? Ele contribuiu, mas boa parte foi ele que escreveu, desde a época do começo da banda, ele sempre escrevia as letras, as coisas e tal. O Cronos contribuiu bastante. Mas, né, tipo, não é a mesma coisa. Ele também fala ali que quando eles fizeram o Empire Evil também, o pessoal tudo falando em reunião do Venom, até o próprio John Zazula falou isso, ele fala, tipo, eu tentei. Ele sempre tenta, mas o Cronos, né, ninguém parece dar bola pra isso, coisa e tal. Mas ele fala ali, quando o Cronos foi pedir pra ele pra usar o nome do Venom, né, ele tava com a mãe dele morrendo, a mãe dele tava mal, ele disse, não me importa, quer usar o nome do Venom, não usa, não tô nem aí, só que a mãe dele tava morrendo, então, né, e o Cronos vai lá e distorce tudo. Ele sempre muda a história. Tipo, isso que é a parte que ele tem mais mágoa assim, do Cronos, é que ele tá sempre mudando, ele tá sempre dificultando as coisas e puxando pro lado dele a história, né? Então, tipo, o Cronos meio que tenta ali ficar no spotlight um pouquinho, assim, mudando a história, e ele não é capaz de dizer o que aconteceu. Vai lá e distorce, né? Então, tipo, o próprio John Zazula falou em voltar, até ele tava falando essas coisas assim, tipo, banda é uma coisa que, tipo, é complicada, a gente sabe disso, né? Tipo, tu quer acabar com uma amizade, monta uma banda, né? Fato. Ou arruma um bom advogado, que nem ele falou, né? daí dá certo, uma Metallica, né? Então, tipo, tem essas questões, assim, dentro da banda, né? E ele fala, tipo, é importante dentro da banda, mas parece que ele tá, né, querendo chamar mais atenção do que qualquer coisa. Pode falar, Jay.
Não, vamos finalizar que a gente já passou, explodiu o tempo, né? Deixar um nosso agradecimento assim incrível, né? A gente é muito fã do Jeff. Fala para ele, inclusive, que eu considero ele, depois do Tony Iommi, vem Jeff Dunn para mim. Eu quero que você fale isso para ele, por favor.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you. Okay, and Jay was also saying that after Tommy Iommi, Jeff Mantas, okay, it's like the best guitar player. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you. Okay, and we would like you to. Yeah, we would like you to leave a message for the Brazilian fans here. Like, are we going to see Venom Inc. playing in Brazil next year? Who knows? We hope so.
There are plans. Let's put it this way: there are plans. So, I think yes. At some point, we know sort of what is going to happen next year. But nothing is getting announced until it's absolutely definite, because, you know, we've seen what happened with the American tour, with the, you know, the visa situation and all that, you know, and we're still, you know, on our level, I suppose, we're still fighting the backlash of the COVID situation and travel restrictions and all that kind of thing, you know. So, but once we know for sure and, you know, it's definite, then yes, we'll let everybody know. But I'd just want to say, you know, thank you so much to everyone for the support. I hope you're digging the new album, and we'll see you very soon. I hope sincerely.
Hope so. Thank you very much.
Galera, não, né, depois desse grande bate-papo aqui, a gente agradece. New Year for you, for band. Pessoal, se inscreva no canal, a internet está dando um probleminha aqui. Se inscrevam no canal, acompanhem a agenda do Heavy Culture e até a próxima. Bye!